In a world ruled by crowns and traditions, where image is everything and history is written behind palace walls, a question echoes louder than ever before. Do Archie and Lilibet Diana Mountbatten-Windsor truly exist? Are they real children or the centerpieces of a carefully crafted illusion? It sounds outrageous, almost unthinkable. But when you peel back the layers of secrecy, silence, and speculation, the mystery becomes more than just a wild internet theory. It becomes a case study in media manipulation, royal protocol, and the fragile relationship between the people and their princes. We journey beyond headlines and hashtags into a story soaked in suspicion, shaped by power, and shielded by privilege. This is not just a conspiracy theory. This is an investigation, an open question. Before the world questioned the existence of her children, Meghan Markle was already a subject of international obsession. An American actress, a biracial woman, a divorced celebrity. When she walked into the House of Windsor, it wasn't just love. It was a revolution. The British monarchy, often criticized for its lack of diversity and rigidity, suddenly had a Hollywood star in its lineage. For some, Meghan represented change. For others, controversy. The fairy tale began on May 19, 2018. Millions watched as Meghan walked down the aisle of St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle, in a moment that promised renewal for the centuries-old institution. But the honeymoon with the public was short-lived. The British tabloids pounced. Rumors of diva behavior, family rifts, and protocol breaches filled pages. Meghan's every move was dissected and twisted. The press compared her to Kate Middleton at every turn, often unfairly and with deeply troubling racial undertones. Then came the bombshell. In January 2020, Prince Harry and Meghan announced their decision to step back from their roles as senior royals. It was a move unprecedented in modern royal history, dubbed Megxit by the media, a term loaded with blame and ridicule. But behind the headlines, something deeper stirred. Why did they really leave? Was it just the media harassment, or was there more to hide? In royal tradition, births are more than personal milestones, they are public declarations. They symbolize continuity, heritage, and the unbroken line of succession. But when Meghan Markle announced her pregnancy with baby Archie in October 2018, the public noticed something different, something distant. For a family known for centuries of openness in such matters, Meghan and Harry's approach was almost cloaked. The unseen pregnancy. Throughout the months leading up to Archie's birth, Meghan appeared in public with her growing bump, but questions quickly emerged. Critics and royal watchers began pointing to oddities in Meghan's behavior, her changing appearance, and most notably, inconsistencies in the shape and size of her bump. Some believed her baby bump shifted unnaturally. Others pointed to a moment when the bump appeared to fold as she bent down, a detail that exploded across conspiracy forums and YouTube breakdowns. Was it just a trick of fabric and lighting, or something else entirely? Where was the hospital? Traditionally, royal births are announced with fanfare and formality. Outside the Lindo wing of St. Mary's Hospital, photographers gather to capture the iconic moment, a radiant royal mother cradling her newborn on the hospital steps. Princess Diana did it, so did Kate Middleton, 3 times. But Meghan, she gave birth in complete secrecy. On May 6, 2019, news broke that Meghan had given birth to a healthy baby boy. But the announcement was delayed. The official communication stated that she had gone into labor that morning, yet the baby had already been born hours earlier. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a contradiction. And contradictions are the oxygen of conspiracy. No hospital photos. No official Lindo wing exit. No detailed medical briefing. No signed birth certificate shown at first. And when the certificate was later released, it listed the place of birth as the Portland Hospital in London, a private facility Meghan was never seen entering or leaving. Supporters of Meghan argue that she simply wanted to protect her privacy. After all, the intense scrutiny she faced during pregnancy was enough to make anyone recoil from the public eye. She even revealed in later interviews how the pressure affected her mental health. But others question why her version of privacy involved breaking away from a long-established royal precedent. Was it a personal choice or a calculated move? Footage from Meghan and Harry's Oprah interview, where Meghan speaks about motherhood and the palace while creating new ones. Meghan and Harry opened up about feeling trapped, unsupported, and vilified. Yet when it came to specifics about the children, their statements remained curiously vague. Another detail drew attention. the absence of clear, verifiable photos of baby Archie. At his christening, the official portraits featured only a glimpse of his face, shadowed and turned away. Most public photos since then have shown Archie either from behind or obscured, very few show him clearly. Some say this is simply a couple trying to raise their child privately. Others believe it's part of a pattern: concealment, distance, and narrative control. Next, we'll dig into the birth of Lilibet Diana, a child named after both the Queen and Princess Diana. But her entry into the world raised even more questions, this time on American soil, far from royal protocol and British law. If the birth of Archie was shrouded in subtle mystery, the arrival of his sister, Lilibet Diana Mountbatten-Windsor, was a cloud thick with questions. Born far from British shores, across the Atlantic, in sunny California, Lilibet's existence marked a new chapter in royal history and controversy. She is the first royal child in modern memory to be born outside of the United Kingdom, to parents no longer active members of the monarchy, in a country where the rules of royalty don't apply. The stage was set for either a beautiful reinvention, or a royal scandal. On June 6, 2021, 2 days after Lilibet's birth, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex announced her arrival via their Archwell website. The tone was emotional and celebratory. She had been born at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital on June 4, weighing 7 pounds 11 ounces. But unlike other royal announcements, this one came late. And again, with no photos. No media presence. No immediate hospital reports. Just a post. A message on a screen. A name steeped in legacy, wrapped in silence. The name Lilibet sparked immediate global reaction. Lilibet was the childhood nickname of Queen Elizabeth II, a deeply personal moniker used only by her closest family members, including her late husband, Prince Philip. The Sussexes claimed the Queen had given her blessing. But palace insiders soon hinted otherwise. Conflicting reports emerged: had the Queen truly been consulted or simply informed? Some called the choice a tribute. Others saw it as a provocation. And still others wondered, if the Queen had not agreed to it, was this an audacious claim of lineage or something more strategic? Once again, Meghan and Harry kept documentation minimal. The official birth certificate was eventually released, but it carried its own oddities. Meghan was listed as Rachel Meghan Markle, with no mention of her title. Harry's occupation was noted as Duke of Sussex. The location, Santa Barbara. But unlike traditional royal records, there were no images of the certificate released through palace channels. The document was obtained by media outlets, not the royal press office. Lilibet's birth occurred in a private American hospital, with no direct involvement or observation from royal staff, UK media, or medical institutions familiar with royal protocol. This was not just a birth abroad, it was a birth entirely outside the royal system. There were no formal medical bulletins, no official photographers, no christening accessible to the public or the press. Even within British tradition, the Archbishop of Canterbury usually performs or witnesses royal baptisms. With Lilibet, the ceremony was private, and its occurrence wasn't even confirmed by the palace. To this day, no verified, full-face photo of Lilibet Diana has been made publicly available. The images shared are either back-turned, heavily filtered, or artistically stylized. A single Christmas card from the Sussexes in 2021 shows the family smiling together, but again, skeptics note, the child's face is partially shadowed. We live in an era of avatars, deepfakes, and AI-generated perfection. A time when anyone's life can be curated down to the pixel. For some viewers, Lilibet's limited media presence is no red flag, just a sign of digital age parenting. But for others, the secrecy suggests something different. Why the persistent veil? Why the resistance to any public documentation, when previous royals followed protocol? We'll also hear from both critics and defenders of Meghan, and explore the deeper implications of what happens when the public begins to doubt a royal child's existence. The line between curiosity and conspiracy is razor thin. And in the case of Meghan, Harry, and their children, that line has all but vanished. Online forums, comment sections, investigative YouTubers, ex-royal staffers and anonymous sources. Across social media and alternative news channels, whispers have grown into full-blown claims that Meghan was never pregnant, that her children were born through surrogacy, that they were adopted, or, in the most extreme theory of all, that they don't exist. Let's explore each theory, not as truth, but as testimony to the world's growing mistrust in institutions, media, and image. It began with a clip, a moment in 2019 when Meghan appeared on camera, bending down in a coat, and what seemed like her baby bump folded in an unusual way. Online detectives declared it was proof of a prosthetic bump. They pointed to inconsistencies in her size, posture, and belly position from one day to the next. Memes and montages exploded, comparing real pregnancies to Meghan's. Could it have been fabric? Could it have been camera angles, or is it possible the bump wasn't real? Supporters rushed to her defense, calling the accusations cruel, misogynistic, and invasive. They reminded the public that no two pregnancies look the same. But the palace's silence added fuel. Why didn't they dismiss the rumors outright? The surrogacy theory is more nuanced, and, for some, more plausible. It posits that Meghan did not carry her children, but instead used a surrogate while portraying a public pregnancy. Why would they do this? Proponents say it could be for health reasons. Others argue it was about optics, maintaining a narrative of biological lineage for public and royal perception. Yet in the UK, surrogacy within the royal family raises questions of succession legality. Under British law, a child born via surrogate, no matter the genetic link, is not considered automatically in the line of succession unless formally adopted and legally declared. If Meghan and Harry used a surrogate, but didn't disclose it, and the children are in the line of succession, was a law broken or bypassed? This theory often falls apart under scrutiny, simply due to the sheer scale of people who would need to be complicit, from hospital staff to royal aides to global newsrooms. Still, its persistence reveals something deeper, a crisis of trust. The most extreme, and frankly, most implausible, theory is that Archie and Lilibet are digital fabrications, AI images, or borrowed children used for staged photographs. Some internet users claim inconsistencies in appearances between images. They point to photographs where the children's faces are obscured, misaligned shadows, or suspicious quality. But this theory lacks substance. Verified birth certificates exist, names are listed in formal records, and Meghan and Harry have spoken emotionally about parenting. To believe in complete fabrication would require believing in a cover-up larger than any scandal in royal history. On the other side of this swirling speculation is another story of a woman attacked by an establishment, stripped of agency, and punished for being different. Supporters argue that Meghan's secrecy wasn't deception, it was defense. Against a press that hounded her. Against a palace that offered little protection. Against a public that never embraced her. What if the rumors aren't proof of lies, but proof of how little we trust anyone anymore? What if this entire controversy is less about babies, and more about belief? In the face of roaring speculation, the British monarchy said almost nothing. No public denials, no legal threats, no clarifying statements about Meghan's pregnancies, the births, or the children's current place in the royal line. Just silence, a silence that spoke volumes. The palace's famous, never complain, never explain mantra has long been its armor. But in the digital age, that silence can sound like complicity or concealment. Meghan and Harry's children, as of today, remain in the line of succession to the British throne. Archie is 6th, Lilibet, 7th. That status was confirmed on the official royal UK website, after significant public pressure. But the update came late, months after Lilibet's birth. The delay was never explained. Normally, royal births are registered with layers of formality. Medical bulletins, declarations, photographers at the Lindo wing, names etched in history books within hours. Even the naming of Lilibet was controversial. Buckingham Palace, when asked whether the Queen had been consulted about the use of her nickname, offered a careful response. It was not a name the Queen had agreed to. Harry and Meghan countered, saying they had spoken to her in advance. A child born via surrogacy, unless legally adopted by the parents, faces complications in inheritance rights, peerage titles, and royal succession. If Meghan had used a surrogate but kept it secret, legal questions would follow. But here's the twist. In the United States, surrogacy laws are state-specific. California permits it. The UK does not formally recognize commercial surrogacy the same way. If Lilibet was born to a surrogate in California, British succession laws would enter a grey zone. The British tabloids played a pivotal role in turning this private story into a global obsession. With relentless headlines, questionable sources, and racially charged narratives, the media shaped public perception of Meghan before she even spoke a word. But not all press coverage was malicious. Some outlets sought the truth with integrity, requesting hospital confirmations, pressing the palace for clarity, demanding consistency in royal reporting. When those requests were ignored, the void was filled with speculation. And the line between what is known and what is believed began to blur. The press can build myths, but it can also reveal them. The question is, who's holding the magnifying glass? For all the talk about being silenced, Meghan and Harry have spoken, selectively. The Oprah interview, the Netflix docuseries, the memoir, Spare, yet none of these offered tangible details about the births of their children. No medical disclosures, no direct images, no first-hand testimonies from doctors, nurses, or royal staff. Instead, they framed their parenthood as a private triumph against a cruel world. A sanctuary, a fresh start. But here's what many forget. When you're a royal, even an ex-royal, your children aren't just yours. They're, in part, the nation's story, the public's lineage, the monarchy's future. So when the public sees secrecy, they don't just see privacy. Before we dive deeper into this unprecedented royal mystery, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story, it's a challenge to everything we think we know about royalty. And trust me, you'll want to be here when we connect the final dots.